It is the awareness itself that will drive the change, and one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
The international order we seek is one that can resolve the challenges of our times.
All these new challenges are bringing together about the biggest restructuring we have ever seen, not just of the global economy, but of the global order as a whole.
To get ahead, we've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
All right, welcome to the Monday morning. No, it's not Monday morning. Good Lord. Welcome to the Thursday edition. Cosmo might be here at 1 o'clock or at noon. We may do a Jim Freeland roundtable. Today's show, the Rob and Freeland Show. We have a guest, Dr. Carpenter, coming on from LazyMed Inc., discussing her case, the new developments in her case. I believe we've got Rob Chowdah back on the Rob and Freeland Show with us.
Yeah, happy Monday morning to you.
Can you believe I just said that?
It feels like a Monday, but no, it's Thursday. Yeah, thanks for holding down the fort, man. I really appreciate it. Great interview, by the way, with Susan the other day.
That was pretty good.
Listened to it yesterday. Yeah, that was a really good conversation, man. I enjoyed it.
The show. We had Skype issues, so parts of the show were a train wreck, but the interview was awesome.
It was. It was
and
indeed.
That's why I put the interview. See, we pre-recorded that. Mm-hmm. She's at work right now. I've been trying for a couple of months to get a live show with her, but our schedules aren't going to work. So we pre-recorded it, and then even though it was sort of it wasn't a train wreck, but there was 10 minutes of dead air, and then there was a few more minutes of restarting Skypes to get everything going again, and then but luckily it was pre-recorded, so I put the whole thing up on YouTube.
Yep. And
if you missed it, if you don't care for the archive, you can catch it on YouTube. You can just go to Jjink 2K10, and there it is, right at the top.
Yeah, I'll put it actually in the chat room right now, and I'll make sure we put it up on the website too, robandfreeland.com, in case you guys want to go back and listen to it. There it is in the chat room.
Now, so right after this first break, coming up in 2 minutes, we'll add Randy and we'll add Dr. Carpenter, whom I really enjoy. I like Dr. Carpenter, and I really hope that...
she is cool.
I mean, they seized all her equipment. They seized all her money. I mean, they pretty much left her desperate and destitute. So hopefully... I mean, I'm not sure what all we can do, but we can get it out there. And, I've found... Listen, Rob, over the last couple of weeks, little bits here and there, people that listen to our shows doing things for other people.
Yeah, such as what? Give me an example.
Well, for instance, there are a few people out there that have decided that they're going to help Donna Taylor with representation in the family court that she's dealing with her son Mark.
Cool.
Not only that, but they've gotten web hosting help. There's just a lot. I've found, and not just them, a couple of other people have said that they've gotten. After being on the show or after hearing or after we exposed them, that they've gotten a lot of good feedback. So little by little, trickle, we are doing good things.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah. We're not just sitting here. I don't know, man. This is a show, and what you get is Rob and James, Rob and JJ. And I just think that it's a good thing, man. And, I'm encouraged when I find out, when people call me and say, hey, I want to thank you, man, because some people that listen to your show, or I got some traffic to my website, I got some, some play. It really makes me feel good.
Oh, there's always a few people that have, some sort of, we will always have some sort of impact, whether it's putting a smile on someone's face or pointing them in the right direction or giving them a headlines that they might not have known about or whatever the case may be, man, we're here to help. That's all. Even if it's just a little bit, every little bit helps, and that's what we're trying to do is help. With a smile on our face.
Okay. Stay tuned, guys. There's more after this break. We'll be back with Dr. Carpenter here at the Rob and Freeland Show, Oracle Broadcast Network. All right, you guys, you made it back to the Rob and Freeland Show here at the Oracle Broadcast Network. Before we bring the guests up, let's go through the quick particulars here. We'll go through the phone numbers, but truthfully, I don't think we'll be taking calls right away.
No, maybe the second hour.
Yeah. So 866-841-1065. Just hold out on the dial button. You can email Rob and Freeland at robandfreeland@gmail.com. That's robandfreeland@gmail.com.
You can join us in the chat room, too, at robandfreeland.com. Top of the page chat room link. Come join us in the chat room as well. Would love to see you guys in there.
Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce, she's been on our show before, Dr. Carpenter, and it pains me to have to say this, but I think it's Dr. Carpenter, formerly from LazeMed Inc. Is LazeMed still at all even a company, or have they just completely dissolved it? They took all your equipment, they took all your money, they brought you into court.
Yeah, the company is not operating now.
I'm so sorry.
Website's still up.
Yeah, well, because the technology still exists. It's there. It exists as much as they want to slander. You can't stop science. Science is science, and it stands on its own, no matter what people say. Okay?
Yeah.
No matter what ignorance says.
So, at the last time we spoke, they had seized your equipment,
right?
Seized your funds. Well, they had actually just taken your liquid or your cash, but now I understand they've even tried to seize your private funds.
I don't have any.
Actually, they started trying to do that a year before the raid. They started trying to seize her bank accounts and stuff.
Okay, so what? So fill us in. It's been probably what? It's been about 3-4 months since you've been on our show.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Well, the raid was in July, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so has a lot happened?
Well, just with the new year, sometime in January, after the middle of January, I received a target letter. It means that you are the target of a grand jury investigation. Okay? And they don't necessarily notify you, but that's part of their terror tactics, and they notified me. And mind you, they wouldn't send it through the mail. They wouldn't send me an email. They claimed they had to deliver it to me in person, and it was one of those, horror stories too. They couldn't get hold of me, banging at the door like crazy, and then waited, stalking until we got out and flattened the tires of the car so we couldn't get out.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Wait a minute, somebody popped your tires?
I only heard about it after the fact, yeah.
Is that lunatic chick that's after you guys?
No, that's the guy that was delivering the target letter. To make sure we didn't leave and he could deliver the letter, he flattened the tires.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah,
Federal agent.
These are people
Federal
that...
agent flattened the tires. That's just hilarious.
It isn't really that funny, actually.
No, it isn't funny at all. It's almost unbelievable.
That's property damage.
I know, but they said, oh, no, I didn't do it. Yeah, right. I'm sure. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But anyway.
Well, he did it by pinching the valve stem. You know, he didn't actually puncture the tires.
Just the
valve stem in until they deflated.
Oh, so they just inconvenienced you. They didn't
Right, so we couldn't get out, we couldn't escape, and he had to, stop me from doing anything till he delivered that paper. And I really didn't want to have delivered, but it's good that it was. Because then I know what's going on, and I know the things I can do. And after that happened, I looked everywhere for attorneys, okay? Because everybody told me you need an attorney. And I looked everywhere, and I had the door slammed in my face all the time. And I'd like to tell you something also. You know how everybody's talking right now about Brzezinski? Oh, Brzezinski won. Brzezinski is such a great person. He won in court, blah, 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 and all of that nonsense, okay? Aside from the fact that he's a nuisance, Brzezinski turned a long time ago. Yeah, he might have started with something different, but now he gives chemo to everybody, and large amount of chemo. That's how he made all that money. Well, in his last court case, he won. Do you know what?
And you might want to, since we got a different audience, you might want to tell them how you know this.
Yeah.
Because I get
this is a different audience, so let's go into it.
Okay, what it is that he developed this special compound, which is a drug, but is an extract of urine, and actually is from AIDS patients. But anyway, and he claims that kills brain cancer, but he used to use it for a lot of other things, and it wasn't really working because I had a lot of patients coming to me after being there at Brzezinski. Didn't work with them. He was pumping them with all sorts of remedy, cost a fortune even after you spend a fortune being there, and then you end up home with all the things you had to buy around about $5,000 a month. Okay?
What?
Yeah.
What I was getting at, though, was Dr. Carpenter has seen at least, a dozen or more of former Brzezinski patients that came and told her personally that they went because of the media that they had heard, about the persecuted hero, and everybody's heard it a million times now, but that they got there and he said, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to qualify for my phase 3, whatever it is, trial. We're going to have to use chemotherapy with you. And they're just dumbfounded. I came here, I traveled across the country to get your
across the world sometime.
Not chemotherapy, but that's what he was offering to them was chemotherapy.
Yeah. Well, in some patient he gave his stuff, whatever he has, and then he said, well, it didn't work, and they give him chemo, and that's how he made all that money. Well, they make big things about his attorney, and he won in court, and all of this nonsense. Well, so one of my patients thought to search for an attorney, and somebody referred her to one attorney that was part of the team. It was not the main attorney of Brzezinski because his name is Jaffe. No, it was not him. It was one member of the team of attorney that Brzezinski had. Okay? And this guy talked to my patient. He said, oh, sure. It happens all the time. I can do it. No problem. I can handle the case. $1 million. He wanted $1 million. Like, is that pocket change?
No.
Okay, and this was part of the team, so that tells you how much Brzezinski put out. It's just a game of money. It has nothing to do with what good you can do with what you have. It's just a game of money. Disgusting. So then we looked around for other attorneys, and I really didn't get anywhere. Nobody would take it. Pro bono, contingency, or anything. Nothing. Okay? And the last attorney I saw that was referred back to in a roundabout way. I knew about him in Tulsa anyway. And, man, he, over the years, since last time I saw him, he sure has gotten a lot more arrogant. I am the top attorney in Oklahoma. That's what he said. Proclaim himself.
Like to toot his own horn. Toot toot.
Right. And then look at my paper and everything. Oh, they're going to indict you. That's it. I'm going to indict you. They're going to indict you, and I can, bring you in so they won't arrest you. Well, they are going to book you anyway, even with an attorney, and then you go in front of a judge. Anyway.
Well, if you're booked, you've been arrested.
Right. So, but he was misinforming me because he thought I wouldn't know. Okay? Anyway. $25,000 to do that and hold my hand. And then if I was gonna indict another $25,000 to take care of the indictment. And if that ended up in a trial, which we would, because after the indictment you get arrested and then there are charges and there is a trial. Then he wanted $100,000. And all of that up front, okay? For what? He told me I was guilty because I used the title doctor, and if I'm not an MD, I cannot use the title doctor. And I don't know what planet it's coming from, because doctor means you have an advanced degree. It doesn't matter what field.
Right, and you have an advanced degree.
Yeah, it's in physics, but you're not an MD, you're in the medical field, so you have to be an MD to use the title doctor.
Well, they call Michi Akuku. He's a physicist. Michi Akuku is a doctor.
I know.
If you're Dr. Akuku, how come you're not Dr. Carpenter?
Well, because he doesn't work in the medical field. That's the point. I think she's
right.
No,
it's not, because there are chemists that work in the medical field are still called doctor if they have a PhD. And there are radiologists that are not MDs that they work in the medical field. They're still doctor if they have a PhD, okay? So
right,
he's changing that for the convenience of what.
Still, the amount of money this lawyer's talking about is crazy.
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't even matter what kind of a medical degree, apparently, because you remember what happened at the case in Little Rock. One of your witnesses was an MD herself that had breast cancer, and they took her testimony and this is prejudicial because why? Because she's not an oncologist.
Yeah, but she's a patient, okay? Anyway,
right?
So,
but I mean, this patient was an MD, and
right?
they still, wouldn't listen to her testimony.
Yeah.
So are they? All right.
So I'm a plain.
At first, the whole thing was the dye. They called it a drug. Now, is that still in court? Is that still the contention?
Well, the letter, the target.
Go ahead.
No, it hasn't gone away. But the target letter was generic on the subject. What it said that I was being investigated for fraud. Mail and wire fraud. And there were also other violations of FDA rules. That's what he said. He didn't give details. And I assume the violation they're referring to is using a drug.
Right.
Well, they also mentioned interstate commerce, I believe, didn't they? Or did they?
No, because they didn't mention in the target letter, but it was mentioned when FDA rated, not in the target letter. But see, when they say in the target letter that you're a target on a grand jury investigation, they say fraud, mail and wire fraud. The only thing that comes up is referring to the information material that I sent through the mail to some patient, and the other one is the website. And they claim is a fraud. Well, it is not, because there are many people throughout the country, there are universities that are doing research, copying exactly what I do, and it is copying because the date of my patent filing and my patent publication precede all that research. All that research only came after, so it is a copy. And it's a blank, flat out copy of what I do. Even the wording is a copy. So, how could they say that it's fraud when it's everywhere that they're doing this work? And now, mind you, in the United States, they're only doing research in the university, and you're why? Because you can't really treat patients with something that is not chemo, because otherwise you hurt the drug company. But in England, it is being used to treat patients, and actually they're working on a deal to treat it, because, England has socialized medicine, and to use it in socialized medicine context. So how could that be a fraud? It's exactly the same, and if you read the papers and their reports, it's exactly the same what I've been saying for years. That's how you do it. So where do you stand on the fraud? That's absurd. But, there is no justice. And they can do anything they want to it, and may be making my life miserable. And I don't have an attorney, which is as well, and I'm representing myself. That's what I'm doing.
So that's where we're at now. You have to have a lawyer.
No, I don't have to. I can represent myself. That's what I decided. They kept offering me to have a public defender. Yeah, like I'm really crazy to do that. That's suicide.
That's a fool's errand right there.
Yeah. So I communicated, gave a certified letter, said I'm representing myself, and they had to. I kept trying to contact them, they wouldn't talk to me, so I sent a certified letter. I am, and I request to testify at the grand jury, and then they turn around and say, "You're invited. We're inviting you to testify."
Good. When's that? When's the grand jury?
March 5th. They didn't give me that much time. Okay, March 5th. So, and I'm going to go in and testify, and I have all the evidence.
Just so people understand, the grand jury is where they're going to decide if there's enough evidence for a criminal charge or a civil. Criminal charge of fraud, then.
Yeah. That's what they're going to decide. But the thing that I've heard is basically the jury in grand jury doesn't care. They just do whatever the prosecuting attorney is requesting.
They do what they're told.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that they don't care and they just do whatever is being pushed. But the thing is that there's plenty of evidence denying everything they're saying. And I can even show evidence that what FDA is saying is a lie.
Well, you're going to have to understand the language when you go in there.
Yeah, I know.
It's all about language.
I know.
And if you use the right language, they won't have any choice.
Yeah.
All right, so you know what I think we got to do, but we've only got a couple of minutes before our first break. I think what we're going to have to do is briefly go back to the start so people even know what we're talking. I know people, the regular listeners to my show, understand, but we're probably going to have to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah. So
that people understand what we're talking about. We'll be able to give out the petition, the place that they can find this petition.
Actually, I put it up on your board earlier. I'll go ahead and...
Yeah, I saw it. We'll do it again.
There you go. There you go.
At change.org, the petition to tell the FDA to return Dr. Carpenter's lasers and other seized property immediately.
Yeah, which they didn't. It's been 6
months.
Or
you could go to medicalconspiracy.com or lasmedinc.com. There are links in the sidebar on both of those websites. It'll take you there.
And the new notification is in that you can also find the address of the prosecuting attorney for people that want to write a letter and say, you know, this is an abuse of people's rights and people's freedom. They want to do something else. It's their business. They have a brain to think, and they can decide what they want. And there is no place of the government to put me out of business just because they don't like it.
All I know is roughly 800,000 people die every year at the hands of modern medicine.
And
about 30,000 just from drug overdose.
And others because of the side effects of the drugs they're given.
Yeah.
They call it they died of cancer, but they actually died of drugs. And
either chemo or the straight up radiation.
And right, that too. So both of them combined are a disaster. There is a patient of mine that was saying how she had 30 family members. She's in Utah, so, you know, they have large families. 30 family members had cancer, okay? 27 of them went for standard treatment and died. Only 3 are alive that never went for standard treatment.
Amen. What more can you say?
Yeah, that's it. And she's one of them, and she's...
People think I'm a lunatic when I tell them if I ever found out I had cancer, I already know how to treat it, so... Yeah. And I won't go to the doctor.
You know, you mentioned the update that we sent out on change.org. I've got it up on the website too, and I just put it up on the chat board. It's just a little PDF file, but it has the email address of the prosecutor's office and some other details about what's going on.
Yeah, and look, even if you can't do anything else, right? Just ask, write to the prosecuting attorney and ask, what is wrong with helping people?
And saving their lives and saving them from being maimed.
Yeah, mutilated, really.
Yeah.
I know several cancer patients, man, and they mutilated them. They're just, half their organs are missing.
It's unbelievable. People don't realize that till they are in that situation. They just don't realize that.
No, but they're so scared. They're so afraid. They tell you, you're going to die. You have cancer, you're going to die.
Unless you have chemo.
Insurance card. They don't even care about you. If you have insurance, that's it. You're now just a number. And you can't even stop the treatments if you're, you know, because they have receivership and guardianships. And if you're under 16 or something, I forgot the age, but if you're a minor, you can't not get chemo.
And if you don't, your parents get arrested.
Yeah. They'll take you, turn you into a fugitive, turn your parents into criminals.
Yeah. Because you have to agree to get killed.
But still, 800,000 people die from everything, from straight malpractice to counterindicated drugs. And in today's day and age, where patients come in and tell their doctors what they have and what they want to take for it, you have a lot of contraindicated deaths.
Yes, because the doctors do not check.
Okay. They don't care. They're like, oh, you want Zoloft? All right. Oh, you need some Paxil? Okay. Oh, you got Russell? Okay, yeah, we got that. That's the one you want? All right. Which statin drug did you say you wanted? Okay, here you go.
And if they don't want it,
blood thinners too, yeah.
Yeah, and you need blood thinners. Yes, you need rat poison. You know, I mean, and they never check. Actually, somebody that contacted me for advice, simply. And she gave me her husband. I asked her, give me the list of medication. I can figure out what's going on here. She gave me the list. 6 medication he's taking, okay? 4 of those had contraindication. You could not take it with the other one. 4 out of 6. What do you want to do? Kill the guy?
I lost my mother almost 3 years ago to what started. There's multiple medical problems, but it got started by her being on multiple protocols that weren't in touch with each other and working together, you know.
Boy, I got to tell you, I'm starting to like some of the bumpers that come out of the Rob Chowdah folder, Rob. I do. Some of the music that previously was unknown to me, I'm starting to dig.
And it's almost time to re-update the bumper folder. So
yeah, it might be time.
Yeah. Well, we'll give it another month or two, but it's coming up on that day.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Hey, anyways, Rob, I wanted to welcome you back officially. I know I sort of briefly mentioned it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, what a crazy week. I've been dealing with my son's infection in his eye, and then at first I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just impetigo, and we started treating it, and it got worse. Had to go back again and get an antibiotic, and then I went back yesterday, and it's on its way out. But yeah, crazy, man, having to deal with this eye infection. We have no idea where it came from, and it was really bothering. It almost closed his whole eye up.
I'm having eye problem. I'm going blind in one of my eyes.
You got to wear a patch one day.
I want a patch.
You want a patch, don't you?
Yes, man. I've been waiting. If I'm going to go blind, I'm getting a patch, man. I swear.
It has character.
More than one. All right. I'm going to have a patch for every occasion. I'll have a patch with an eyeball on it. I'll have a patch with an RMS finger on it.
While wearing a Nick patch.
Oh, man, I forgot to make that audio file. I was going to make an audio file out of that video that Ken made a few months ago.
Okay, welcome back to the Rob and Freeland Show. I feel like because it's been so long since we've had Dr. Carpenter on, some people may not be aware, that maybe we should just briefly, for this segment, talk about LazyMed Inc., how it came about.
Yeah, I miss you, dude. I miss doing shows with you.
Let's open the phone lines up, too, in case anyone has a question for the good doctor.
Yep. All right, phone lines will be open, 866-841-1065. You can Skype, get on air with us. If you've got unlimited long distance, Rob, 512-904-8014.
Yep. Skype, get on air. You mentioned the Skype one?
Yes.
Yes. Good feature there. Hands-free. Okay. And free.
And free.
Right, double free.
It doesn't cost either of us.
You talk to Freeland, hands-free, and free.
All right, Dr. Carpenter.
Okay. Well, one thing that I don't know how often I pointed out, but the whole thing, the idea, the methodology, how to handle and how to treat the cancer dates back to 1986. And since 1986, I've been fighting the medical trying to introduce this. 1988, contacted the medical school in Little Rock, Arkansas, and ended up being, first attacked, then criticized, then said, okay, we'll do a research effort with you, and then, you won't let us take everything, and you want part of it, so we're not going to do it that way. Okay, so we parted the way, and they went to trying to do it on their own, something that they really didn't understand, so it got not very far. And we went on trying to find funds and working and struggling, putting our own money to do that. It was just, and LazyMed Inc. wasn't found until 1989. And then the patent wasn't filed till 93. So as you know, this year is the 28 years. 20 years and nothing. And at the beginning we really had, we finally assembled the first prototype, and it was hard to get patient, and we treated here and there. Then in 2000 we went think of all the years that have passed. In 2000, we went to Mexico trying to work with clinics in Mexico, and they were all welcoming us. But when they saw the amazing results, they threw us out because it was conflicting with what they were doing. So even Mexico didn't work out. They only
go figure. They see it's effective, then they kick it.
Go away, yeah. But with that, we got proof of results, and we submitted to the European Patent Office, and we finally got the patent that had been hanging there forever.
Quick question right here. There's a question in the chat room here asking an email address where they can help out.
I just reposted it. The PDF file has the email address of the prosecuting attorney.
Okay, and then what about your guys? Any contact for you guys?
Yes, Carpenter, Carpenter at lasmedinc.com. And you can put it on the board, Randy.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. So we started getting better and better, getting more patient things. The word started spreading, and then when we were still in Arkansas, we got contacted by one of the local TV stations to do an infomercial, and we did that, and everybody started getting nervous in town at the medical establishment. And then the local paper, in October when they did the Race for the Cure thing, they wanted our ad in their paper, and they developed the ad based on what we were saying on our website and information about it. They developed the ad, and that's the ad of the woman in the car. Clear blue sky, the road open, and she's in a convertible, and she has her hands out like, freedom. And that created the end of the world.
Oh, jeepers.
Yeah, we got attacked by the state attorney office in Arkansas, and it was all nonsense, and we said,
it was just a stock photo. It wasn't staged or anything, and actually a lot of the pharma commercials are done like that. They show footage of people just enjoying life, unquote. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what it was. It was just somebody, driving. It was a back view of a couple in a convertible, and the woman had her hands way up in the air like, yay, hooray. And, they didn't like it.
Right. And so they started harassing me, and they had been trying to take away the doctors that work for me. 3 doctors they took away with threat of revoking their license, and they couldn't work with me. Because in Arkansas, I could not work without a doctor. I'm not an MD, so I couldn't work without a doctor, and I had a doctor. I had 3. And they all were blocked from working with me. One ended up trying to be a spy, so it was not a good deal. So I got fed up with that, and I moved to Oklahoma, because in Oklahoma, as a holistic healer, I can function. But, Arkansas didn't like that and kept harassing me. I had been harassed, civil lawsuit of nonsense of a patient that was claiming I hurt her, and she was fine. She was fine, and she still filed a lawsuit because she was a shot-safe. She wanted money, and then, of course, it fed the interest of Arkansas, and unfortunately, they were helped by my ex-husband that was distraught of the fact that I blocked him from stealing money from the corporation. So it was really one of those things. So I left and came to Oklahoma, and things didn't stop. I harassed with the lawsuit, and then the trolls started on the web, cover me with insults, and anybody that was posting anything positive about having come to see me and having good results, they were harassed, insulted, thrown out of the board. So it was all a conspiracy, nothing else.
So let me ask you, how many successful cases have you racked up over the years?
Many. I don't even have the count, because a lot never even let me know that they were fine. When they're fine, they don't call you. They don't tell you anything.
Right.
Many, but right now I have a good number that I can use as backup. It's just that when I was trying to do it for the lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, the judge, who was a crook, just like everybody else involved in this thing, he said they were not acceptable because the plaintiff attorneys say those testimony were not acceptable because they were biased and they will mislead the jury.
You want to talk about misleading? I'll tell you what's misleading is what the industry has kind of gotten down to an art form in the latter years of dealing with Dr. Carpenter. They know that her treatment creates a swelling type of reaction, and
during the healing, yes.
Right, and they will go and put these people into the fear of God, and they will get an oncologist to give them certain testing that are inappropriate, that are used in diagnosing, or used in evaluating the effectiveness of chemotherapy. Things like
chemotherapy does not produce inflammation.
The PET scan. And if you're a chemo patient, the PET scan is used to basically say, okay, we're doing well or we're not doing well. And it's a completely different paradigm.
Got about a minute.
Yeah, but they've used that to convince a great deal of ex-Carpenter patients that they weren't in fact doing good, and they basically killed them as a result.
Yeah, the tests alone can kill you. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back. Rob Chowdah, JJ, Jim Freeland with Dr. Carpenter, and Randy. I just want to say Randy the dog boy, but no, Randy's my good buddy, man. Randy, I'm glad to have you guys on, Dr. Carpenter. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah.
So we'll be back after this. This is the Rob and Freeland Show. You're listening to us. You're listening to the Rob and Freeland Show here at the Oracle Broadcast Network. We've got Dr. Carpenter from Lay's Med Inc. on the air with us. Now, I guess I better let the music end here. But, just before the break started, we were talking about Lay's Med Inc., and I'm going to let Dr. Carpenter finish bringing us up to speed. I mean, it's hard to just hear about the end of a case and not know about the beginning of it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what happened was this civil lawsuit brought about, as I said, by a person that was actually doing well, but she wanted money and she helped crooks in Arkansas. So they gave me all this trouble, and then there were all these witnesses saying that they did well with my treatment, but they didn't do anything else after my treatment. That's why they were well. And those testimonials were excluded. So I said at that point, first the judge said they didn't receive anything, and then later they said that after I fired my attorney, they said that they didn't receive it. So they were not acceptable. Well, so I decided, okay, the way the situation doesn't look good at all, so I'll let it go into default. And going into default, that's if you don't show up in a civil trial, then it goes into default, and they cannot award the plaintiff more than what the amount of money was mentioned at the beginning when they filed. But what they did, that would not have been enough because it was only $75,000, which was ridiculous already. She paid $6,250 for the treatment 5 days, and she was fine. So the whole thing was a farce. But anyway, I didn't show up, and they should have not have had a trial and the thing going into default. Instead, amazingly enough, if this were Russia, they run the trial anyway without me in there, and only the attorney for the plaintiff picked the jury. That's unbelievable in this country. Anyway, and then they had this ridiculous farce of a trial. You cannot have a trial with only one side. Not in the United States, anyway. And what happened?
The FDA trying to bother you.
Maybe, I don't know. There's the phone ringing. And so what happened? I got an award to the plaintiff for $2.5 million. For what? She was alive. I mean, that's ridiculous. Oh, anyway. But I don't have any money, so they couldn't collect. And then.
So they tried to. So they couldn't collect, obviously.
No, they couldn't
$2 million.
I don't have anything. I didn't have a house. They could steal. They could take away from me. Nothing. You know, they didn't do anything, and even said they didn't think they could ever collect, but that was intended to keep women away from my treatment because it was a fraud. You know, it was not. So they thought they accomplished that. And my business was doing really bad. I had a real difficult time surviving. And then we had to move to a smaller place because I couldn't afford where we were at. And when we moved the files and we moved everything, that famous piece of paper came out of the files, and it was one of the people they used as a, poster child example of why my method didn't work. And I found the records, and it was saying that she not only had breast cancer, she had thyroid cancer, which she didn't want to have treated by me. So she died after chemo radiation. She had another type of cancer besides breast cancer. How can you say that she died because of what I did? That's ridiculous. Anyway, so I made a video, and the video was posted showing the document indicating what she had. And of course, that's when, and I had other records, and I showed the records of other things that other people that was finding me on the web on wrong basis. And that was not taken very well by the parties, and so that's what happened. I ended up being raided by FDA in July of last year.
And they took all your equipment.
Everything, they took everything. They even took the saline.
They even took your
saline solution. Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, the head of the investigation was trying to say, and kept trying to get me to agree, which is ridiculous, that putting a dye in a saline will make it a drug. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, but the FDA states that a drug is something that you use to treat or diagnose diseases. Well, that's the use of a drug, not what it is. And it cannot be a drug unless it causes a physiological change in the body.
Well, technically, the laser is the drug, right?
No.
No, I'm just saying the treatment. I mean, you don't use any drug, but if there was anything there that had the dye is benign, it does nothing but color.
And the laser just so happened is so low powered that on its own does absolutely nothing.
Neither one of them by themselves
do anything.
Right, because you use it at a low enough temperature where it can only work with that catalyst that's in the dye, right?
It's just the dye that absorbs the light. The body doesn't absorb it in an amount that can produce anything, but the dye that you put there in the tumor will absorb the light and absorb all of it and develop enough heat to kill the cancer. But it doesn't kill the healthy tissue because the healthy tissue will not retain the stain. It's really simple physics.
It's just completely out of the box to them, and it's a threat of an idea,
And also is so inexpensive compared to what they do. I mean, tests cost more than what we were charging for.
Well, they do hyperthermia all over the world as a cancer treatment, but they do it full body or localized. They don't do it really targeted the way that she does.
And also, when you do that, it has some effect, but you cannot use that high of a temperature because otherwise you're killing everything. You're killing the person. So you have to do something so only the tumor will reach the temperature that is certain to kill human tissue, and that's all it is. It's very simple. It's just a question of having developed it. But see, that's
so with your method, with your treatment, if there's no dye, then the heat won't be intense enough to hurt or harm.
Does nothing. Because there are some patients that don't believe when I tell them, okay, I inject the stain. If the lump retains the stain and you feel heat with the light, it's cancer. If you don't feel anything, that means it didn't retain the stain and it's not cancer. And I've done that several times. Okay? It's really simple without having to go through all those tests.
Right.
And there are people that don't believe that because they feel heat even in an area they didn't think they had anything. And so what they do is they want to feel the light in their hand, and they feel nothing without stain.
And that's part of the problem with going to the doctor, looking for problems. They'll find it. So you keep going getting tested for cancer until they find it.
Oh, they cause it with the test.
Or they cause it. Because you remember, it wasn't even last year they were saying mammograms quite possibly cause breast cancer.
Certainly, yeah.
And they were getting women, and, they were going, it was to the point where they were starting to, it was more than once a year. Now they wanted you to go twice a year for a mammogram.
And younger women, so they can make sure that they get everybody.
The same thing with prostate exams. Men, used to be 60, 65. Now they tell you as soon as you reach the age of 40, you should start getting regular colon.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Those are really dangerous because they can tear your intestine. And then you have internal bleeding. That's really awful. I don't see why people agree to that.
There ain't nothing going up there without a fight. There's a fist. There's going to be a fist fight before
I was 39 years old and going for oh God, I was younger than that. I can't even tell you how young I was. It was in my 30s though, and I was going for a pre-job physical, and it's something I kind of regret now. It was a pesticide factory, but it paid pretty decent, for the depressed economy that I lived in at the time. But I had to have a job physical, right? And I'm there at the doctor's office. He's going through this, going through that, and he says, "Okay, well, now we're going to do a prostate check. Have you ever had that?" And no, I haven't. So, okay, well, just turn around and relax. Try to relax for a minute. Oh, my God.
Just noticed sitting here, I have my legs crossed. I didn't even know.
No, me too, dude. I just crossed my legs.
I just involuntarily, unconsciously crossed my legs while you guys were talking there.
And puckered up.
It's not going to help you at all with the exam they use. But anyway, let's move on.
We got a break coming here.
Yeah. Rob, take us out, brother.
Well, we'll be back.
Oh, take us out. This is the bumper music, bro.
No, I know. We'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. We have a whole nother hour of the Rob and Freeland Show. Stay tuned, would you?
You are listening to the home of Cutting Edge Talk Radio. This is OracleBroadcasting.com.
Yeah, please do. We got a short segment right here, folks. Only about 3 minutes. We'll take a short break, and we'll come back, of course. But, yes, please continue, Doctor.
Okay. So, they had the raid, and they took everything, including the files. They even took our flash drives. They took everything from the computer, and they took ads, material, including the bumper sticker advertising the radio show. What does that got to do with anything?
I got one on my car.
Yeah.
I've got several friends with medical conspiracy bumper stickers.
They took what I had.
They took the whole bumper. No, just kidding.
If they had found one, I'm sure they would.
If they could get the sticker off, they'd probably take the whole bumper.
Yeah, but they promo material, though. It doesn't make sense that would be under the FDA's, hey, take this list.
Right.
Not only that, we had a cork board with all the contact of different suppliers of alternative supplements, like, something for pain that is natural, things of that sort, totally innocuous. They took all of those too, so we had to recreate the contact. Unbelievable, okay? It's just unreal what is happening. And then they were trying to convince me, as I said, that the dye was, and I had to admit guilt because the dye was a drug, in which I didn't, and I said absolutely not. But they went on. And then in the end, they were saying, like, it was too risky to go for my treatment. First of all, it was not their decision. It's other people decide what they want to do with themselves. And risking to use something that does no harm instead of going for chemo and radiation or surgery that maim people. And that is too risky to try what I do.
Well, and look, and they always come out with these new miracle drugs. This latest one causes cancer to move into your bones and...
Oh, in the story of Avastin, it was a breast cancer drug, and it killed so many people because it was causing internal bleeding. See, what Avastin does is it was stopping the creation of new blood vessels, and the body always creates new blood vessels, not just the one for the cancer. And it was causing intestinal holes, and people would bleed to death. And after hundreds of thousands people died, 160,000 or so, then finally FDA had an investigation and recalled it. They recalled it. The next month, doctor insisted that they still needed to use it, and Medicaid was still paying for it if doctor did prescribe it, even though FDA had recalled it. And now they're saying, Avastin connected with another drug is good for brain cancer. Sure, break holes in your brain. That's a good idea. I mean, can you believe it? The whole thing is a farce. And then a couple of weeks ago, this thing came out about FDA budget, okay? It's a federal agency. Well, 40% of the budget of FDA is paid by drug companies. What?
I would think
40%. I would say. But even 40% is disturbing enough. Yeah, I read something that said that more than that 40 to 60% of almost all, like family practitioners, more than half of all the money they make in a year comes from pharmaceutical companies.
Yes, and it shouldn't be, but they do. Yeah, most of the money they make it comes from pharmaceutical companies. That's why they push all those drugs.
There's never a situation where a doctor makes more money from drug companies than patients.
I know. It's just unbelievable. But that's how they're wealthy. That's how they pay their vacation home and their Mercedes and all of that.
Oh, I remember this song from the 70s.
Yeah, you know, what it means is that he was well taught by his father about misleading people.
Oh, Dr. Carpenter. Let me just tell you, the first time I had Dr. Carpenter on, she told me she liked my bumper music, and my bumper music was Pantera, 5 Minutes Alone, and Beat Streets by Van Halen. I was like, I like this woman.
Well, you know, I always listen to Van Halen. Van Halen is really good.
Okay. All right, Dr. Carpenter, let's
okay, so what happened is, after the raid, I guess FDA didn't feel, they were pretty upset. They didn't find anything in my place that could give them a reason to arrest me. They weren't happy with that. You could tell from the face, sourpuss face of the leader of the raid. So they tried to accuse me of writing phony prescription because I still had prescription pads from the doctors that worked for me. Yeah. Anyway, and we don't use anything. The only prescription we used was for ultrasound, for testing, not for drugs. But anyway, I didn't use it. I wasn't a doctor. I kept it. Why did you keep them there? Because it's really destroying. There are many. You mean you cannot buy less than 1,000 pads, you know,
right.
prescription at the time. So it's going to destroy your shredder, okay? So it's too much work. I mean, the 5 doctors that I had, get real, okay? So that didn't mean anything. Oh, why do you still have lidocaine? Because I bought it, and the pack is still closed, and the doctor used them. I don't have any doctors now, and it's not being used, and it was still sealed, the pack. But now they stole that too. Anyway, so they weren't happy that they couldn't arrest me. So they thought, well, she probably is going to be able, even though I didn't have any money, so I couldn't pay the rent for the place I was in. I couldn't rent of the place that I was living in. I lost everything. I lost everything in my house. I lost everything. Okay? In my office, I lost everything.
And haven't recovered any of it yet?
No. And they were, well, I'm not going to recover my possession of the house that I had to leave behind.
Oh, right.
So that's lost and things that I collected for years, way before I got involved into this. But then they felt that was not enough. They had to do something, so the indictment comes, and it's all, as usual, based on lies.
And and being attacked by the government is nothing new for Dr. Carpenter. She is a government whistleblower from the old school, from back when most of us were kids. And so this is nothing new to you. It's just
it's a defense industry.
I bet you thought there'd be a point in your life where they'd just leave you alone.
Yeah, but no, can't do that. Yeah, and that's where I'm at right now. And I'm fighting for my life and my survival. And from what I can gather, they have very little evidence for doing what they're doing. So very little. And no, just hearsay from somebody that is a resentful patient.
So some of the things that people can do to help are, 1, just moral support. 2, if you can, you can go to either LaysMedInc, .com, LaysMedInc.com, or Conspiracy.com. I'm sure they have a way that you can donate to Dr. Carpenter. Or there are probably other ways that you could help others.
Just write a letter to the... Yeah, there is the address of the prosecuting attorney, and write a letter. This is a violation of human freedom, of our citizen freedom. They have the right to know, and they have the right to have a choice. It's up to them. I mean, when they come in, oh, you're misleading them. I'm not. And then when they come in, they have to sign like they do in the hospital waivers or liability. If they don't want to sign, they leave. That's fine. You know, so they come in, they want the treatment, they sign the waiver of liability. What else can you do? Leave me alone. People have the right to, and besides, if a person has even a minimal understanding of science, basic biology, basic physics, they will know that what I say is correct. You just have to be totally clueless not to. So, you know, give people a choice. No, you can't. You have to have what the medical offers you because we decided that that's it. Even though they claim, see that now the stand of the medical is that the first do no harm is an old idea. It's old idea. It doesn't
good as any, right?
Yeah.
Do no harm to the industry.
Yeah. No harm to Pfizer or Bayer.
Yeah.
Merck. So what about, all right, let me just ask you this, how close to some sort of adjudication is this case now?
I don't know, because I had to testify.
Oh, that's right, Joe. You already said that. Great jury.
March 5th. I don't know what happened after. I have no idea.
There are no charges right now standing against.
No, it's just an investigation.
All your property.
Yeah, they've taken everything. I don't have any means of making any income and everything, but they're still going after me. And the attorney said, you're going to be indicted because it's always, if the prosecuting attorney requests the indictment, the jury will do it. Well, I thought that was supposed to be, the grand jury idea was it was supposed to be protecting the people from the abuses of the government.
That's supposed to be the government going to a group of your peers and showing that there's enough evidence for you to be charged with a crime.
But if the people don't think so, there is not going to be.
That's right.
But what they tell you is, no, if they have a grand jury, you're going to be indicted. Because they don't care. They just go for whatever the prosecuting attorney wants. That would be, of course, that wouldn't surprise me. It's against it. But that's what I said. Everybody said, no, you don't want to testify because they can trick you. Trick me into what? The truth is the truth. It should come out. And science, you can't deny science. So that's why the only way they're going to hear the right stories and the right version of what's going on is from me, so I requested to testify. And, of course, apparently, from what I read, they cannot deny if you're requesting.
No, they can't.
But they turn around and make it look like it was their idea. We're inviting you to testify. Of course, you must understand that anything you say will be held against you. Yes, please, because I'm not saying anything that can be held against me. There is nothing to be held against me except the phony charges. How can you say that is mail and wire fraud when I have the science explaining what happens? I have other research groups that are copying what I do, and the dates of when they did the work and when I brought up my methodology shows that it's a copy. I did it first. And then I show results on the website on what happened. How can you turn around and say it's a fraud?
Well, you got me there, Dr. Carpenter. You got
I just don't know. And that's what some of my people...
Well, this is all going to work out in the end, I have confidence.
In their plan of working out, that is that they throw me in jail and throw away the key. That's what their plan of working it out. So I cannot help anybody else, because that's the point. To stop me from helping more people so there can be more evidence that what I do is the right thing to do.
And it's not even a case now of if there's not enough evidence for a charge. It's now we got to get your equipment back.
And it goes all, one thing you didn't bring up, because you said it, I've heard you say it so many times, but it goes back to what the medical school in Arkansas told you when you approached them, and they saw your results, and what is it they said? How can we justify?
How can we justify this? What we have done up to this point, and we cannot make any money with this. That was their comment.
Right. We can't make any money because a few $1,000s is a done deal.
And it would make us look bad. It would make us look bad for what we've done all these years.
Well, whether they destroy me or not, it's gonna look bad for them because you cannot stop science, and it eventually will all be exposed that they have been poisoning and killing people for years for nothing.
Yeah. Now, well, that brings us to this latest development in the chemo world, where they've had to admit that chemotherapy causes other kinds of cancers. So why don't you go into that for a second, Dr. Carpenter?
Yeah. Well,
we'll come back.
Okay.
We'll just move around a little bit. We got at this point right now. We need to get just really as many people to show support for Dr. Carpenter, for the medical conspiracy, for Lays Med Inc. Send letters to the district attorney or the prosecuting attorney, and they what they need is friends, moral support, character references, all these things that can be sent in email. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort, and obviously, if you're out there and you're listening and you're doing well and you feel pity and you realize that people need to be helped, by all means, Dr. Carpenter isn't going to turn away money unless you happen to be from Merck or Bayer.
No, but drug companies can. And I had it. See, I'm in this mess because I have had doctors contacting me and saying, okay, this is good. This is really a good way and is synergetic. That means it can help chemotherapy. No, it cannot. And you cannot give the patient chemotherapy. The whole point of this is no chemotherapy. So they wouldn't send me patient if I said that they should have chemotherapy also. No, you're not going to get me to say that because it's a lie and because chemotherapy kills people. And once you have killed the cancer, the patient no longer has cancer. What do you want to give him a poison for? To kill him? So all the poison goes to healthy tissue, just for money. I'm not going to say that. Another person told me, that was an alternative practitioner, by the way, told me, why do you continue? They're attacking you so much. Why do you continue offering the treatment?
Because the evil, maybe?
Because it works and people are happy after it. Let me tell you, people are mutilated. They're poisoned, and they have poison with radiation too. Somehow, by a miracle, they survive, and then they're giving more drugs to keep away the cancer. And heavens know how they survive, and they have a miserable life. Instead, I tell them, okay, you come here for a few days, I do the laser treatment, which maybe the area is sore the first day a little bit, and then after that, nothing. You can be here on vacation, go touristing in the area for whatever you can find. There are museums and things to do, not a metropolis, but there are things to do. And then you go home back to your normal life like nothing ever happened. Why won't people want to even try that and see what happens? And then stay away from drugs. Stay away. You don't have to take anything else. You don't have to do anything else other than wait that your body flushes out the dead body, the dead tissue. And then what? Nothing. All you have to do is patient. Now, there are ways that could be used to accelerate the healing, but, if you cannot get access to those, the doctor could help
even if it turns out that you're not able to continue with your practice, you're not going to ever stop exposing the medical industry and the evil that they are. Now, we do have one call.
Okay.
One of my friends is calling in, another host from another network, but I'm sure this will be great.
I hope so.
All right, Jimmy, you're live here on the Rob and Freeland Show. You got a question for Dr. Carpenter?
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Carpenter.
Good morning.
Just two quick things I want to ask you. One, I don't know if you're going to be willing to give this information up, but did you have a backup of your information that you had on the computers hidden anywhere else? You know what I mean? Of all
hard
your
copies,
research and stuff?
Yeah, I have hard copies. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And have you considered just moving out of the country so that you don't have to deal with all this crap?
Well, there are two problems with that. One, I need funds, and I don't have any. I never made any money. I only made enough to charge the patient enough so I could cover my costs. That's all. So I don't have any reserve, and the little bit of money that they took was just to cover the operating expenses month by month. So I don't have anything. I could go out of the country, and there are places that are not Mexico. They're not safe. But there are other places.
Canada?
But I cannot afford it, first of all. The other problem, it's a philosophical problem, okay? What I did was to make it affordable for the average American to have something that would resolve their problem of cancer so they could go back to normal life, they could go back to earn a living, to go back to be useful to society, whatever it is that they were doing with their lives. And that's it for the average American, limiting the cost and making it available to them. If I go outside...
Dr. Carpenter, that is why you are now and always will be welcome on my show, and I will always consider you a great or a wonderful human. If I ever get the chance to meet you and just give you a hug, I will.
Thank you. It's just that I have to try to stay out of prison. Don't let me...
I know. Jimmy, anything else you wanted to ask Dr. Carpenter?
No, just God bless you, Dr. C. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to do what I can to help you out as well. Thanks. Have a good day, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy.
See, that's the thing. People with a lot of money, they can go anywhere. Whether what they offer is good or only halfway good is going to help them or not, obviously didn't help our process. But they have other avenues. But the average American that lives month by month, sometimes week by week with their paycheck, they cannot do and go outside the country. But what happened to them if they have cancer? They shouldn't be doomed. They shouldn't be, with chemo, they start chemo, they have to get a leave of absence from their job. And maybe they will come back and survive, maybe they won't. And sometimes they survive, but are in a condition that they cannot work. And I don't like to see that. There is no reason, there is no need. They shouldn't lose parts of their body. They shouldn't lose vital. Everything we have is important. We don't have any spare parts. Okay? We are like German cars. We don't have any spare parts. So we need all that was given to us at birth. So you shouldn't mutilate people, first of all, and poison them and destroy them so they can't work. They have, not only it hurts a person's life, it hurts the country because they cannot be productive. They have to depend on disability pay. They have to depend on Medicare. The cost of Medicare has become ridiculous because of the cost of the drugs. So I put an end to all of that. Gee, we can balance the budget with this because the medical expenses won't be as high anymore. And there'll be more taxpayers. So there'll be more money coming in. And why nobody's listening to me? Because of the lobbying from the medical establishment. Lobbying. Do you know I read somewhere that a drug company pay $6 million a day for lobbying? That makes it bigger than the military budget, the Defense Department budget. It's unbelievable what's going on. To me, lobbying should be illegal.
It should be.
It should not be allowed.
Special interest corporations with First Amendment rights. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's just unbelievable. And drug companies are extremely wealthy. They are very powerful. Why? It's our money that is making them so. Because people go to the doctor that is getting kickbacks telling you need this medication, that medication, and then more and more. And most people are at least on 6 to 8 medications, which most of them are conflicting with one another. Right. That's how all the money goes into the drug companies, and they get sued. They pay peanuts compared to what they're spending to pay off the lobbyists. So it's a farce. We need to change something. And of course, when you are a dissident of the government, you are going to be targeted. And it's not a free country. This is not behaving any different than Russia. It's not.
Right.
What's happening is no different than Russia. And the only thing we can have is the voice of the people, the voice of the public. That's all we have. And,
we gotta support each other. I mean,
because otherwise the government is gonna destroy us. It's gonna take away all our freedoms a little bit at a time. It's gonna take them all away. And it's gonna control every aspect of our lives. I was talking about last Saturday about remote monitoring of patients. What they're saying is they're using this computer method to send the patient home sooner after surgery so they save money, but they monitor them at home. Well, that's one step away from monitoring if they're taking their medication or not, which to me is absolute control.
Is that crazy? Is that sick?
That's chip in the pill.
It's disgusting. That, you know, I mean,
you must take the medication because
big pharmaceutical companies are saying you're taking our drugs and we're going to make sure of it.
That you're taking them, yeah. Because I had a patient, she was kind of a strange lady, very a nice lady though. And she was going through these stages of depression, so she go see the doctor, they give him all this medication. And then she talked to me and she had some waking moments, so she ran and threw several times for her medication down the toilet. Okay? Well, with the monitoring, she would have been in real trouble. Taking away the freedom. Yeah, taking away the freedom of choice. Yeah, and this is not acceptable. I mean, even though somebody doesn't, even if there is somebody that doesn't believe what I do work, although if you check the website, you have undeniable proof that it does. But say you're still in doubt because you don't understand enough of the science or whatever. I even give a very simple explanation on what's going on, so it's pretty difficult to miss. That's why they want to shut down the website. But even so, you still...
Well, also your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Right now, stay tuned, guys. There's more Rob and Freeland with Rob Freeland, Dr. Carpenter, and our good friend Randy here at the Oracle Broadcast Network.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The one thing about having a mute button is you got to remember that you're using the mute button. Welcome back to the Rob and Freeland Show.
Oh, fancy pants.
Yeah, this new mixer I got has a mute button on it, so I can mute myself without... Well, you know, using the dial, it just over time, it starts getting crackly. And I moved... Over the last 3 years that I've been using this mixer, I went from channel 1 to channel 2 to channel 3 to channel 4. You know, you just move down the next channel when it starts getting crackly. I mean, I do have contact cleaner and all that, but you know what I'm saying? So but now it's a brand new mixer. I got 4 whole channels to go through before I get to the end, so I got a good... I should be good for another year. But anyways, welcome back.
8 months.
Yeah, 6 to 8 months minimum. Don't forget, RobandFreeland.com. Support the Rob and Freeland Show by donating to the Rob and Freeland Show. Thank you very much. Dr. Carpenter.
RMS awareness.
Oh, everybody that knows me, Randy, is well aware of restless middle finger syndrome.
Embrace the affliction.
Embrace it, man. Embrace it. And.
Yeah. Okay, what?
And it's been upheld in court that your use of restless middle finger in regards to law enforcement is perfectly legal.
It is?
Yeah, believe it or not.
I bet the police disagree with you.
They do, but you know what? In court, they lose. You can flip a cop off. You can't flip a cop off and say F you at the same time. Yeah, and you're not going to get the teeth back either.
I was going to say, yeah, once you get teeth and the sphincter, you don't get that. You can never get that sphincter health back.
No, you never can.
Yeah, well, you know what they say in Tulsa, that the most dangerous place in Tulsa is the back seat of a police car.
That's pretty dangerous here, too, baby.
Yeah.
We covered a couple articles of people were handcuffed and managed to shoot themselves. Twice.
That's amazing.
Remember that, Jimmy? Twice we had articles where 2 different individuals managed to shoot themselves while they were handcuffed in the back of a police car. How's that possible?
And how did they get hold of the gun?
How did they fire it?
Yeah. How did they fire it? But before that, how did they get hold of it?
I mean,
I've seen a video of how and the video reminded me of Donald Rumsfeld, of Colin Powell standing in front of Congress saying, "This is what Saddam Hussein, this is what these chemicals would look like if they were being sprayed out of a plane," while they showed a video of how possibly you could, if you had a gun and you were handcuffed, possibly shoot yourself. But, you know, I bet you they had to search far and wide to find a cop that wasn't fat and stupid, you know, that could get both his hands behind his back and actually do it. It's literally almost impossible.
It is. Have you ever tried to bite your elbow?
Bite your elbow.
That's the same thing.
Kind of. It's very similar. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
So, it's just unreal, the things that they're trying to feed to the public. And this is the same thing, like trying to feed the saline mixed with food coloring is a drug.
Right.
And they did it even to Manuka honey, the company that sells Manuka honey.
What's Manuka honey?
It's a special honey, high-grade honey, right. Grown in New Zealand, and they sell it for medicinal purposes, and it can control infection. You can spread it on the wound, and you will not get infected. And it's very simple because the honey, it just works out the air that has germs, and it can cause an infection. And instead, it's just insulated and allows the wound to heal. Mm-hmm. It's no big deal. No. That makes it a medicinal, a drug, so you cannot advertise.
No, because the FDA didn't approve it. Unless the FDA approves it, then you can't qualify it as a drug. And if you do, then you're a criminal.
Right.
Is that right?
Right. That's it. Forgetting one thing. In the British Medical Dictionary, it says that a drug is, first of all, a non-food. Okay? So, when they attack the walnut, they attack the honey, or they attack the cherries. No, you cannot say this because it's not true. You know that the website for Manuka honey, they take down the testimonials? That's what they needed. And they were trying to do that to me too. Oh, these testimonials are fake. Give me the name of the people that wrote the testimonial and we'll contact them. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't worry, Obama's going to change it all. Just keep waiting.
Oh, really?
Yes, he'll change it all. That's why he's there. It's not going to be government as usual anymore. Didn't you hear the speech?
Well, you know what? The first thing, do you know what was the first decision of Obama as soon, within 24 hours being reelected? Do you know what it was?
What was it?
He reconfirmed the head of FDA.
Right.
The FDA that is responsible for all these abuses, he reconfirmed.
Margaret Hamburg.
Yeah. He reconfirmed it immediately, within 24 hours of knowing that he was reelected. Before he did anything else, he did that. What does that tell you? With all the words that are coming out about whistleblower in FDA, that they claim FDA is violating all the laws, is passing drugs that shouldn't be passed because
they got caught many times. They were signing off on studies that were written by ghostwriters that they knew were ghost written by people that didn't even act. There was just a doctor coming in with a RoboPen signing it for X amount of dollars.
Right.
FDA got caught taking bribes, and the Department of Justice, all they made them do is say, listen, can you please cut down on the scope of the bribes and take less money? They capped the amount of bribery money they could take. But they also they provided them some anonymity as well, whereas they didn't have to disclose who was actually giving the money. All they had to do was rein in the scope, saying, listen, you can't take millions of dollars from these corporations. You can only take X amount per fiscal quarter, and so they reined in the scope, but they provided a little insulation as far as corporations having to divulge, if they were actually donating and how much. Ridiculous. How does that serve the interests of the American people?
It doesn't at all. And that's not only ridiculous, it's criminal. That's the real criminal.
It's like a lobbyist. You're legally allowed to buy law in this country. We were talking about lobbyists earlier. Why would you allow them to influence law with money? That seems really, really dangerous. Really dangerous. But yet, that's how our government works.
To me, it should be illegal. No doubt about it. But do you know the detail about Margaret Hamburg? Okay, she got $2 million from companies that make vaccine, and there aren't that many that make vaccine. She was hired as a consultant. She got $2 million before she became the FDA. That's why the vaccines are so protected, and they're advertised, you must take this vaccine. And she said the $2 million that she got out of them for being a consultant.
Look at Judge Clarence Thomas. He worked for Monsanto for years as a lawyer. Then he all of a sudden ends up as a judge, a Supreme Court judge. Well, how do you think he's going to rule against any case that may negatively affect Monsanto?
And
huge conflict of interest, and it's right in your face. It's not hard to find out where Judge Clarence Thomas used to work for. It's not some
besides all the other wrong things he did.
Yeah, all the sexual, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
come on.
Guy's a scumbag. But yet, it's right in your face, and no one talks about it. The mainstream media doesn't cover it. There's no journalist, doing some kind of investigative piece on, the conflict of interest between Supreme Court judges or Dick Cheney or anybody else who sits up in Congress.
But they spend taxpayer money harassing me.
Yeah, exactly. That was my whole point. But they'll come after you if you try to do something that's not, part of the system. They'll come right after you. It doesn't matter how it's perceived. If you're not part of the system, then they will shut you down because you're directly competing with them.
In fact, get this, during the raid, FDA said that I couldn't do independent research. Research has to be done only in universities.
Really? I didn't know that. Where's that law written down?
Where's that law written in?
Yeah, I've never seen that law. You can't do research, really? Maybe I am a terrorist then. Wow, I've been illegally researching for like 9 years now.
Yeah, you're a terrorist, yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
You're an insurgent, Rob.
You must pay $18,000 a semester to do this.
I've thought of it like that before. Wow.
By the way, I'd like to welcome John Cosmo, my good buddy, one of my oldest friends, to
What's
the
up,
show,
Malcolm?
and a regular on the round table every Thursday.
Thursday on Back in Black.
You are?
Yes.
Well,
yeah, brown. It's not black.
All right, we'll be back after this, guys. Hey, Dr. Carpenter, I've had a great time having you on, as I always do, and so it seems Rob has also.
Definitely. Thanks for your time today, guys.
Yeah, we'll be back, guys, after this. More Rob and Freeland Show, OracleBroadcasting.com. Oh, I'm here to tell you, I know a little bit. I certainly know a little bit, but I do want to say thanks to Dr. Carpenter. Thank you for coming on. We can spend, and I could really have you on once a week to talk about
all the horrible things going on.
But I want to thank, but in particular, I want to spend just a few minutes here at the end of the show going over again the websites where people can, lend support, where they can send letters to the persecuting attorney. Down there,
prostituting attorney,
prostituting persecutor, whatever, however you want to call him. Be polite, you be articulate, and we don't need anyone sending a lunatic letter saying do this or do that, but ask questions.
Well, some patient has sent a letter by saying return her equipment.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. You don't need to send them a letter as though you were sending it through a bullhorn.
Yeah, but some have said that they were really upset about.
Well, good.
Yeah.
As long as you're,
Well, with all the people that they approve medication that kill hundreds of thousands and they don't recall it till after.
They don't deserve respect, but that's the only way that you're going to get a letter read.
Yeah. Well, the persecuting attorney is not responsible for what FDA
probably doesn't read them anyways, but still, let's try to get as many signatures on this petition. Can you imagine if you had 100, 200,000?
I know, but I don't.
There's the petition link.
380 million people in America, 320 million Americans, 6 billion in the globe. I think we can get you guys 100,000 signatures. Let's do it. Let's try it.
Okay.
Get it on Facebook. Everybody can repost it, sign it. Just make it go viral. It only takes a few days if it just goes viral, and then it's done. Your effort has been expended, and you can move on.
Yeah.
So to speak.
And I'm fixing to put up the link also for the update PDF that we put out on the grand jury investigation, and this has the email address for the prosecuting attorney's office.
Okay.
Yeah.
medicalconspiracy.com. There's LaysMedInc.com.
They can go there and just find the change.org. And when they bring that up, they will also bring the update, won't they? With the information?
Yes, it's on the page, but we've also added it to the medicalconspiracy.com website. It's like the top link up there. It says Dr. Carpenter now targeted by grand jury. And if you just click that link, it'll take you to the same thing, to the PDF file.
That way you know who to contact. And it's just an issue. The ones that are not patient is an issue of freedom for everybody. To freedom of information.
Yeah.
It's information, and an individual can be judged whether they want that or not. Don't block the information.
Yeah, you can't put the robots out there. We either have all rights or no rights, right?
Right. And taking care of your own health and making the major decision of your own health, I think it's a basic freedom, even though it's not written in the Constitution. I think it's implied in basic freedom.
Natural right. It's a natural right.
Yeah.
All right, so what are people going to hear on the next Medical Conspiracy, Dr. Carpenter?
Well, I'm going to talk about some of the drugs that they are in the FDA watch. Okay, these drugs that killed hundreds of thousands of people, what FDA did, it didn't even say to the drug company to put a warning label. No, they're watching it. They are watching this drug and see what happened, but in the meantime, they're not stopping anybody from prescribing. So how many hundreds of thousands of people have to die before they ban it? That's ridiculous. That's insane.
Let's see, I'm going to guess about 800,000 a year for the next indefinite amount of years. It's sick. It's disgusting.
It is. And that's what they are saying. We have the authority to decide what you should take and what you should do. And we are controlling every step. And what do they have? They have a section of FDA that is called criminal investigation. FDA,
the worst. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because the worst part is they make the poison cancers easy to get, or the poison cancer disease, treatments easy to get with insurance. And insurance won't cover any of these other treatments. But they're cheap. They're usually, it's only a matter of a few $1,000s, determination, to do it. And, we're talking about $1 trillion, hundreds of billions of dollars a year, this industry that's built up around cancer and now mental.
Yeah, now they're adding the mental health. How do we solve these people that go bunker because of the medication? No, we solve it by, and that's another thing I talked to
by giving them medication?
Yeah, more medication, so we do better health care. Give them more medication, so they kill themselves. It's just unbelievable what is going on. If medication are causing people to go nuts, what do you want to give them more medication for? That's obviously not the solution.
They're demonic.
Yeah.
Barbarian scum.
Makes me think of that old Rush song. Yeah, I'm a Rush. Rush is one of my favorite bands. But
2112. If there was only one album that I could have, I would take 2112.
But Neil Peart is a wordsmith, and one of his songs, Witch Hunt, there's a line in there that goes, "Those who know what's best for us must rise and save us from ourselves."
Yeah.
That's really deep when you think about it.
And basically what he's saying is, you are not responsible enough to make your own decisions, so the government and the AMA will make it for you.
Yeah. I'll take my risks. My own
I know. I mean, that's saying exactly like what happened with Social Security. You are not responsible enough to put away the money, so we'll put it away for you, and then we'll give it back to you when you need it. Really? And then they raided it and took the money out of the fund.
Yeah, this entity with the worst track record on the planet is telling you how to live your life. That's awesome. Yeah, the government screws up everything. Everything seems to be just a complete epic screw up.
Vioxx killed more Americans than Vietnam.
Yeah.
And that was
an FDA approved drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the list goes on and on and on and on. They fail constantly. They can't even.
If you kill one person in front of me, like I probably never trust. You know what I'm saying? 80,000. I would never trust that company.
They should have their business license revoked.
But and they should be.
No, in fact, Novus is probably
tried and hung like they with the filth that they are.
They barely paid. They do have these class. Look, and that's another part of the scam. I mean, these companies all donate to this big, huge VAC fund or medical fund. You're not allowed to sue Merck, Bayer. You can apply, and go to court, and you can get a monetary settlement from these VAC courts or drug courts. Not drug court, but the FDA courts. You're not actually suing Merck or Pfizer. No. You're just bringing your case in front of a group of guys that are deciding how much money they'll give you.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. You're trying to get a little money. You're not really doing anything.
So and it's not going to cover the expenses you have for the health problem you developed.
No.
If you're alive.
It's like the people that were awarded money for MK Ultra, the victims. They gave them $60,000. Is it? After all that time, after all the damage, all the pain, suffering, they gave them $60,000. That's it. What the hell is that going to compensate them for?
Dems the brakes.
Dems the brakes, my friends. Yeah.
Dems the brakes. We
experimenting on humans. That's awesome.
I know.
Hey,
the same government that experiments on humans tells you how to live your life. They want to interject some sort of moral.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, if people don't wake up to that and do something about it, we are all doomed.
Yeah, well said. That's the path we're on, my friend.
Yeah.
We're all doomed if we don't stand up. All right, guys. Rob, glad to have you back, brother.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, man. That was a good show to kind of get back into it.
Yeah, Dr. Carpenter, I want to thank you for coming on. We're at the end of the show.
Thank you.
2 seconds left.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Do appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, dude.
MedicalConspiracy.com. LaysMedInc.com, and you can go to the chat room. Rob and I will have some links up at RobandFreeland.com later after the show. Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow.
Stay tuned for the Jim Freeland Show.